Welcome. So today what we're going to do is we're going to be going over how to comp using Zillow and Privy. Now, both go hand in hand. Sometimes Privy has better functions than Zillow does, but you get in some trickier areas, Zillow is going to be better. Okay. Privy's obviously it's faster. If you've never used Privy, I highly recommend it. I think it's about $130, $150 a month. And then of course, Zillow's free. So in this video, we're going to look at 3 properties and we're pretty much just going to hop right into it, how we're going to comp those for cash. And if it doesn't work out as cash, what's our next option? So let's pull these properties up and then let's run some numbers. All right, so the first one here is going to be in Rice Landing. So we're going to start with Zillow. All right. Now we notice in Zillow we have a Zestimate, but we do not have a bed and bath count or square footage right here. Okay, but we want to keep Zillow up. We do want to type this into Privy. Okay. So when you open up Privy, let's see. When you open up Privy, this is what you're going to get. Let's put the address in there. Rice Landing. All right. Privy also doesn't have any information on the property, as you can see. There's no usually up here, it pulls up the information. There is nothing. What we can see is we can see some properties it's trying to comp with, okay? So this is one of those situations where you need to gather a report with the seller when you're on the phone with them, all right? So if we look, so we gathered a report. We know it's a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. All right, so this is gonna be, here's a comp, right? It's a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. We're sitting on, we don't know the square footage, okay? So we don't know the square footage, but we do know it's a 3-1. So again, these are a little bit more rural areas. When it's a little bit more rural, we just have to do our best when it comes to a cash offer. As you can see, it's south of Pittsburgh quite a bit. But we're going to go ahead. We're going to use the data that we have here on Privy, and we're going to determine what we think the house is worth fixed up. Now, sometimes these have photos. This one does since it sold this year. We can see that it's pretty good condition, right? Slightly outdated with the wooden cupboards and kitchen, but we do know that it is in good condition. So if we need to, we can use this as a comp. Okay, 195. But let's go over to Zillow. All right, let's see what Zillow has for us. So let's look for 3-1s. All right, get rid of this border. All right, so here you go. Zillow is not showing us much, right? That's why these go hand to hand, because one's going to show us information over the other. We do see that a 3-2 sold for $20,000. This house is in like really bad condition, right? I mean, look at the kitchen there. Okay, so in this instance, we're going to use Privy. It's our better option here. Now, if we remove the filters here, we might see more pop up. We do also have square footage. Let's get rid of these filters here. Okay, that's not going to help. So now we see a lot more properties, right? We see a 4-1 sold for $230. Okay, looks pretty good condition. Looks like they did do some remodeling to a section of the house. Looks like the bathroom there. Here's another 3-2, right? So there's a 3-1 there, 3-2, 3-3. We don't know these. Okay, another 3-2 and a 4-2. So this is as is condition for a 4-2. We are dealing with a 3-1. Okay, so we got no choice but to use the only 3-1 in the area. Now, as far as square footage goes, at this point, we're going to have to just assume that it's probably around there. Again, this isn't something necessarily would be prime as a cash offer, and the reason why is because when we try to find an investor, they're going to be doing the exact same thing. They're going to try to find comps. They can't find comps. It's too much of a risk for them. The only option they'd have is to bathroom to match these other 3.2s that were flipped, if there's enough square footage to do so. Okay, so we're gonna run our number at 195,000 as our ARV, and with that, you're just gonna open up the calculator on your phone. Okay, you're gonna do 195,000, and you're gonna divide that. You're gonna times that by 0.7. 70%. It's going to get you 136. Now we have to subtract our rehab. And so average rehab besides LA and New York for a full remodel is $45 a square foot. And for a full gut to the studs, it's about $65. So hold on to the 136. We're going to do 45 times 1,600. We're sitting around 72,000. Okay. So 136 minus 72,000. That's putting us around 64,000. All right. With that being said, this house wasn't really flipped. Okay. So you can adjust your numbers, but I would keep them the same. You can either go up 10 grand. Again, we're ballparking it on something like this. Okay. So we're at 64. We need to subtract the fee. Whether you want to subtract the 4 grand, make it flat at 60K, or you want to go really deep and offer 50 for a $14,000 fee, you can do that. But with that being said, that's what your offer is going to be, is around 50,000. Okay, if you're looking for a fee there. Now, if that doesn't work, right? The second option, you don't want to do sub 2 or seller finance. The area is really rough, but because of the rural location of the property, what would be a very good option is to do a novation. Okay, I'm not going to jump into novation. You should know what that is. And this is for everyone, right? Essentially what we would do is we're going to offer as is value minus a fee. Okay, and 10%. So 195 is pretty much an as is value, right, for this area. So what we would do is we take 195. That's what we would list this property for, and times that by 0.9. It's going to give us about 175. Now subtract the fee. I'm saying about 20K. Okay. So we could essentially try to list this for 195 and guarantee the seller 155,000. We have to pay agent's commission and we have to incorporate our fee there. So therefore we'd have to guarantee the seller 155,000. And the way I did that, like I said, is to take the as is value of this 195 here, times that by 0.9 or 10%. Okay. And then subtract the fee from there. We're looking for around 20,000. All right. And then that's how you're going to come up with your offer. Now there's not a whole lot to look like on this lead. Okay. So that's what we're going to have to roll with. The numbers might be tight because there are some other properties selling for very low, 103. So, I mean, at the end of the day, this is a tough decision. Now, this is in the middle of no city at all. This is our property is in Rice's Landing. So our best option is to go by that. And I mean, we have nothing to lose, right? That's what wholesaling is about. That's how we're going to run our first numbers. So we have a cash offer of 50,000 to be exact. And then we have a novation offer of 155,000. So as you can see, novation sometimes is more appealing to a seller if they can wait out the 90 days. Let's move on to our next property, which is going to be, I believe, an apartment. So let's look at this. I have to just type that in here to get up. Okay. So here's a good example of novation automatically being out of the picture because the property is listed. But we're going to look into our other options here. We're going to pull both of these up on Zillow or Redfin as well as Privy. Okay. Now, not all the time are you going to see it's listed on Privy, but it is. All right, let's see if we can find that one. Here it is. Okay, so it's listed for $94,900. Now, we want to look at two options. First is going to be cash, okay? And then the second option is going to be sub 2, right? Now there's a chance of there being a third option of seller financing, but that all depends on if they owe money on a mortgage or not. So if we look at cash first, we're going to have that conversation with them. We're going to anchor them with a cash offer. How do we know what to offer on an apartment or a condo? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to take what the other ones have sold for, semi-fixed up. So if we look at these other ones, if we have any photos, we might not. Let's see if Zillow is available with this property. Okay, here it is on Zillow. All right. So a little bit tough. Well, let's scroll down here. Let's see what they got on here. Okay. So I'm looking at, these are in the same this one's the same complex, sold for 110. Okay. Another one, not in the same complex. So let's look at this one here. It's in good condition, a lot better condition than ours. I mean, if we look at, this is kind of rough. It's dirty, the kitchen. I mean, it's got whatever this is coming down the side. It's kind of ugly compared to, something like this, which is a little bit cleaner. Okay. So cash offer is always going to be a little bit harder on apartments. But for example, what we would do is we would definitely take that price that this one has sold for, which is 110. Okay. And we're going to times that by 0.70. And then we're going to still do the $45 a square foot for rehab. So let's pick ours up. And again, some of these are very tricky. So 968. So remember, 77 is 70%. 968 times 45. It's going to bring us to 43,500. And then 77, 43. We're looking at offer at 34,000, right? So they have it listed well above that. They have it listed for 94,000. So cash probably not going to work out for this seller. The second option we want to look into is subject to. Okay. And what I mean by that is we would take over their mortgage payment, and that's how we would purchase it. So if they have a low interest rate, we would let them know. We'll leave the mortgage in your place. We'll give you something down up front, and we'll take that over. And a few years down the road, we'll refinance out of that into a conventional loan, and the bank will pay off the loan that you have in a few years. Okay, so again, when they're tricky like this, we just kind of ballpark a lowball number. It's very, very difficult. It really is. We can see some of these sold for 42,000, right? So us being at 34, there's room for us to make a little bit of money. Okay. But at the end of the day, something like this, we would really want to do a novation on, speaking where it's located. Okay. And again, Virginia, we can't wholesale. So novation's obviously the best option there. But let's not spend too much time on this one. We're going to move on to, let's look at this one. This is Babylon, New York. Okay. Pull this up here. And then we're going to pull this up here as well. All right. West Babylon. So this one's going to give us a little bit of easier time. And this relates back to being able to wholesale deals. It's going to come down to location, just because the bigger the metro, the more data you have on the property, the more comps you can use, the easier you can sell this to an investor if you have it at the right number. Okay. So we know it's a 4.2. In our notes here, after contacting the seller, seller saying it's public record saying it's 1,450 square feet. So we have it here on Zillow, and we have it here on Privy as well. Let's dive a little bit into it. Let's see what the comps are. Okay. See if we can find any 4.2s on here. So there's quite a bit of 4.2s. Okay. So we're going to look at these. Mainly the one we want to use is really as close as we can get to our subject property. So we're looking at all these. Here's one. Okay. And it's right down the road. Most investors are going to want to use these. So there's two right down the road. Most investors are going to want to use these properties because they figure if it's in the same neighborhood, it has to sell for that same price or near it. Because if we're on the other side of a freeway or whatever, as you guys know, I mean, the neighborhoods can change within a matter of seconds and miles, right? So we're going to look at our ARVs, right? So let's look at this one. Let's look at the photos. We don't even need Zillow at this point, okay, because it's showing us a lot of comps here. So, I mean, this is fairly good condition. I would say it's pretty much remodeled. All right. Let's look at this other one. Wait for it to load. Same concept here. It's a little outdated. Needs a little bit of work. I mean, small cosmetics sold for $580. So they got a lot of money out of this. Someone did redo the bathroom on that. But let's look at Zillow too. Let's look at Zillow for a backup. Okay. So we know it's in this ballpark. And we filter 4.2s to get the rubbish out of here. All right. We see houses. We're seeing a lot of stuff selling at the high 600s, 700s. Okay. So really, we're looking for a 4.2 around 1,500 square feet, which is, I mean, there's a lot around 680 to 700. Okay. Sometimes 720, but we don't want to take the highest comp. We really don't. So I would say, I'd really say, I mean, these are selling for 580 to 600. Confidently speaking, seeing where properties are selling at, some are hitting 700s and well into the 700s, but our 4.3s. It's very safe to say that our ARV is going to be right around that 600 mark, as you can see. Now, Privy, obviously, if you see the difference here, it pretty much lays it out for you, all the 4.2s. So you can go based off of these. We see 580, 600, a 620, and a $789,000 house. But we can't look at that. We cannot use that as our comp, okay? So we're going to use these. This one's very close in year, as you can see. It does have an extra level, okay? But we're going to run our ARV right between that 580 to 600. Very fair to say, okay? So whip out your calculator. And matter of fact, let me see if I can pull up a calculator on here so you can see what I'm going to be doing here. All right, we do have a calculator here. Whoops, where'd it go? All right. Here's our calculator. Let's see if we can expand this thing. It's like extremely tiny. But what we can do, let's go on Safari. Let's use a calculator here. Boom. Pull that up. There we go. Okay. So we know that 600,000. We're going to use that as our ARV. We're going to type in 600,000. Okay. And all we're going to do from there is times 0.7. Okay. That's going to give us 420,000. But now we need to subtract rehab. So we're going to keep that in the back of our heads or save it somewhere, write it down, 420,000. We're in New York now, remember. So we're looking at $65 a square foot just for a full remodel. Okay, 65 times 1450. We're looking at about 94 to 95,000 in rehab. Okay. So 94,000. So let's clear this. 94,000. Bring that 420 back up. And you are going to subtract that 94,000. Okay. Now we still have to put a fee on there. So we want to at least make 26,000 on this. So let's incorporate a $26,000 fee. So our offer for our cash is going to be 300,000. Now the seller, he wanted a lot more. He wanted about the 500 range. Okay. So 300 is 200K off of where he needs to be at. So the second option, once we anchor, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Something with my camera, it thought I ran full of memory. But anyways, let's hop back into this. So like I said, the 300,000, and then that's going to be our offer price, but he wanted 500,000, and so we're just too far off for cash now. But what we can consider is doing an ovation on something like this. He wants 500, what's the as-is value is really what we would be focusing on to do a novation on this. So we'd have to find a 4.3 that sold as like an as is value. So the best place to do that as of right now is going to be Zillow. We're going to just look around for a 4.2 that wasn't really flipped, kind of in older condition, but we can use as is value. Okay. So if we keep looking, let's see. Where's a 4.2? Was this flipped? This doesn't look flipped. Sold for 550. Okay. See if we find any others. It's about the only one. Let's see what's over here. 580. Was this flipped? Not sure. Okay. Let's see. Here's a 4.2 not flipped. 450. So there's 550 and then there's a 450. Let's keep looking. 525 not flipped. So for something like this, what we would be looking to do is really anchor them around like 500,000 flat. If we can get them lower, like 450 on an ovation, that'll work great. And the easiest way to determine the calculation for that is, let's say 525 or 550 is what we would try to sell it on market for. We're going to put in let's say 540. Okay. 540. And it's all ballparking when you're doing an ovation, it's all ballpark. Okay. 540 times 0.9. Okay. We're going to get 486. And now all we got to do is subtract our fee. So let's say 20,000. Okay. That's going to put us at 466,000. So that's what we would let him know. If we can work him down to 466,000 and we can guarantee that he'll walk away with that, then we can do an ovation. We can sell this in the low 500s and it'd probably do quite well. So sub 2, it's not going to work because I believe it's free and clear. And then seller financing would be our second option. But I believe he needs the cash, the full amount. So really what we'd be looking to do is turn this thing into an ovation, sell it within 90 days, and get paid out for it. So those are the 3 properties I wanted to just run over with you guys. And if you got any value from this, please let me know. And we'll see you in the next one.